came to the state in 1977. I looked at what was happening in June, and I said, that's nothing but a three-ring circus. I can't see that it's changed a bit. And I'm sorry to say that. Some of you are sincere representatives. Shelley, you remember when you were running for office, I went up to you and asked you, what makes you think you'd be a good politician? You looked me right in the eye and you said, because I'm not one. And I said, for God's sakes, you'll never become one, because there's nothing lower than a politician, except maybe an attorney. And I will leave you with that. Thank you.
And we're so glad you came. Howard Best. And next, Rosemary Baffrin will be after Howard.
Howard Best. Howard Best, retired Baptist minister, lived here in the area for the past 28, well, between 28 and 29 years. Neither my mother nor my father had education beyond the 8th grade. They thought that a person who had graduated from high school was a well-educated person. My getting a college education wasn't a part of their agenda, even of their vision. I first went to Illinois State and then to Wheaton College. I got my bachelor's degree at Wheaton College. When I was at Illinois State, the state paid every penny of my tuition and fees. At Wheaton, every penny of my tuition and fees were paid by the federal government under my rights, privileges, under World War II GI Bill of Rights. I'm an old guy. Okay? In other words, I never paid a single dollar for my bachelor's degree. It was a gift to me. And I would argue that I am a very good investment of state and federal money. Now, I have become, friends with Shelley, and she understands how I feel about some of these things. Simply stated, I believe the future of Alaska is to be found in its university and in educated people. When I hear of proposed drastic cuts to the university, I become very, very nervous. Cuts in funding of the university will somewhere along the line translate into our best and brightest young people getting their education outside and not returning to the state of Alaska. Cutting funding to the university system is simply a matter of a slow suicide for our state. And so I just simply say, this is my point of view. And I believe that we have to develop a very, very good university for the long-term benefit and health of our state. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Howard. Rosemary Baffrin, followed by Larry DeVilbiss.
I need to lower it, but I'm scared to touch it. Thank you, Beth. I hope this works. Can you hear me? I'm Rosemary Baffrin. I'm here, first of all, to speak up what I think is the #1 pressing issue in the Mat-Su Borough, and that is the need for more transit. More DOT funds need to be allocated for transit. It would make a tremendous difference in the valley. We need a transit system for the year 2025, not 1995. That's our #1 issue. We have a number of young adults, younger people with assorted disabilities who need a way to get around. It also is extremely helpful for senior citizens to be independent. So it's very important for more transit. And speaking of seniors, the recent announcement in the media recently about cutting senior benefits, I want to ask, is there a way that we can find out what's coming down the road before we find out the week ahead of time? There's got to be a way of finding out. The announcement this past week about that one group for senior benefits does not affect me. I'm in one of the other groups. But I would like to know before it's coming so I could use some common sense and plan ahead. So we need better communication. Maybe that's the more positive way of saying it. Also, please do whatever you can to not cut back the PFD, because it's a tremendous economic stimulus for the entire state of Alaska. And if there's going to be cuts in other ways, this in the autumn and the fall of the year, that PFD makes everybody feel good. So try not to cut back, even though that seems to be the talk. I would also like to request the powers that be find a way for better screening and training of personal care attendants, commonly called PCAs. It would make a tremendous difference. If they were trained better, then maybe they could help people be more independent. And you know what that means? That means less money has to be paid for medical and health issues. And my last comment is, I would like to see a consistent law or rule or statute, whatever, on, I'm gonna finish my sentence, on no smoking in public areas. The state office building here in Palmer, commonly called the DMV building, says no smoking within 50 feet of doors. The Wasilla Library says no smoking within 50 feet of door. But many places just say no smoking. I would like to see a consistency, no smoking within 50 feet of doors and windows, and that includes e-cigarettes. For health, it would keep the budget down tremendously. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Larry DeVilbiss.
And Shelley, I'm going to interject. Thursday at 6:30, State Affairs is holding a hearing on permanent fund protection. It's Senator Willikowski's bill. It's open statewide public testimony. Thursday at 6:30 until we're done.
Thank you.
And then what I'm saying, and just to represent Tilton, Senator Stoltze, I'm making a few notes of things that
Shelley,
there's...
we can't hear you back here.
No, this-
Your bill.
Can you hear me?
Whoops.
Let me just talk really loud. What we're going to do is we're going to take notes on a few things. If there's time at the end, we will comment. But this primarily is a chance for us to listen to you and hear from you. It's very, very important. We're down in Juneau, isolated. We need to hear from you. So that's the priority today. If there's that time at the end, or if there's just a brief interjection like Senator Stoltze did, that's fine. But we're not going to be responding. Some of these comments beg for a response, but we're going to try to keep quiet so you all have a chance to have your time. So thank you very much. Larry?
Thank you. For the record, my name is Larry DeVilbiss, and I'm very happy that you're sitting there and I'm standing here. But I would like to number one message, keep cutting. We have a wonderful opportunity to recalibrate and find a level of government that we can sustain. Anybody that was here in the 50s know that Congress didn't want to give us statehood because they said you can never support your state. And then we found oil. And when we found oil, we set it up so that we could transfer non-renewable revenues into a renewable revenue source, which is what the permanent fund was. And I'm quite happy to share the permanent fund revenues, earnings, but don't forget the private sector. The dividends need to go out to the private sector because that develops renewable resources here in a local economy. The other thing I want to speak to is to ask you to follow the Senate's lead on banning commercial marijuana in the unorganized borough. That does not leave the industry with no other opportunities. What it does, if those parts of the borough that want that revenue become incorporated, they've got all the opportunity to do that, but that could be an incentive. And because in 2014, when the Conference of Mayors met, it's the only vote I've ever seen all the mayors unanimously vote on, and that was against Proposition 2. Proposition 2 passed statewide, but overall, and please tell Representative Culver that Glen Allen and Delta were overwhelmingly against Proposition 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And next, Terry Snyder, followed by Ron Johnson.
Good morning. My name is Terry Snyder. I live in Palmer, and I'm a constituent of Senator Stoltze and Representative Hughes. First of all, as you probably guessed, I'm here in support of SB 1 and House Bill 328, the smoke-free workplace bills that are moving their way through the legislature for the third time to be heard. You have over 1,000 resolutions of supports from businesses and thousands of individual supporters that you've been notified of this bill. There's been dozens of letters of support in the frontiersmen. It's hard to believe that some reports are coming out of Juneau that people haven't heard from their constituents. All that HB 328 does in SB 1 is to ask smokers to take it outside. This is not a ban against anything. That's important to know. Smoke-free laws ensure everyone has equal protection from secondhand smoke in the workplace. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your health just to earn a paycheck. People work where they can find work, and no one should have to choose between their health and a job. And regarding e-cigarettes, there's lots of magical thinking out there about their safety and use. E-cigarettes are unregulated products. If you have more information about what's in your dog and cat food than you do in these products. I know you've heard the argument that it will put these small business owners out of business. Smoke-free laws that included e-cigarettes haven't found it to be damaging to businesses. 18% of high school students are using e-cigarettes compared to 11 who smoke. And with flavors like bubblegum, gummy bears, and Skittles, it doesn't take much to understand. And there's just no regulation, so we don't know who's being sold underage. We don't know who, if they are not filled with nicotine, because there's no way to check, because we don't regulate it. A study that came out of the UK that's often around a lot has already been debunked when they found out that there were paid scientists by the tobacco industry on them. And everyone probably saw the newscast showing in Senate Labor and Finance this week of a vape user's pants catching on fire in a vape store. It wasn't pretty, and I can guarantee you it wasn't full of chamomile. And lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't say something about seniors and the budget. Budgets are moral documents, and the cuts that the House did to the seniors, to me, is just not moral. Seniors have to make choices about food, heat, and medication, and their health every day. And to cut the lowest of those people off right now in a struggling economy where they have no ability to go out and work to make it up is just unconscionable in my way of thinking. So please think about the smoke-free law. I know you've seen me a lot this session. I'll be down again. And with the seniors too, because they are very concerned about the cuts that are being made.
Thank you. Ron Johnson, and then Eugene, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name.
Good morning, my name is Ron Johnson. I'm a resident of District 12, and I want to thank you for taking time to make the break from Juneau and come and listen to us. We appreciate that. I think you know my position on the budget, and that's what I'd like to speak to. Prior to the session, Representative Tilton, Representative Hughes, you both made a commitment here in this room that the goal you would fight for was $4.5 billion. Senator Stoltze, you kind of indicated you might, but you know, you waffled a little bit on that, and I was disappointed. I want to encourage you to continue to cut. We're in tough times. I cannot support any additional revenues until we get this budget down to a reasonable level. Right now, it's bloated. I don't know where the cuts are. I do agree with a lot of the studies that were made by the UFL team. I think that those guys did a good job. They worked extremely hard. They gave you some very good ideas to start with. But we hired you to drill down and find the areas to cut. So we need to cut farther. I cannot support a sales or an income tax of any kind, especially if we're giving out a permanent fund to tax the working man and give money to everybody goes against my grain. If we do have to tax at the end of the day, I think a sales tax is more equitable. And I am not against taking part of the earnings for permanent fund if we have to down the road. I don't think the time is here yet. We have constitutional budget reserve. We have some earnings reserve. We can step this budget down. It's going to take a couple more years to get it down to a sustainable level. And with the price of oil, we're really not sure what that sustainable level is, and it may move from year to year. But you know what? My household income moves from year to year, and I have to adjust my budget. So we all should be used to that. I just want to encourage you to continue to cut. I know we're in tough times. It's hard. But I just want to support you in those cuts and encourage you to continue to cut. Think seriously about taxes. And the governor's proposal to tax fuels, that's ludicrous. Energy fuels your economy. Energy fuels business. Those fuels, the taxes on the fuels would kill our economy, and I think that you know that.
Thank you, Ron, very much. Eugene, followed by Greg Hughes.
My name is Eugene Carl Haberman. I reside in the Segment Valley. I represent myself. To follow the process used by officials for these meetings, and if the appropriate process used for these public meetings and decision made by the governing body were more likely to be in the public interest. I applaud you in arranging to hold today a legislative town hall meeting to hear what the public has to say. Unfortunately, providing just 2 hours and a 2-minute limit per person to speak for this meeting does not give a reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard today. The last town hall meeting was conducted by Representative Jim Culver a few days before the legislature began this year's session. It provided the same 2-hour limit for this meeting. Due to the time restraints, some people, including myself, did not have an opportunity to speak during this meeting, in which a majority of time for this meeting was made available for Representative Culver, the host for this meeting, to speak instead. This month in the legislature, the House passed a resolution limiting public notice to 24 hours. This action went into effect immediately without the consent of the Senate. This is totally inappropriate. Currently, in the Alaska legislature, there are proposals to implement a state income tax, a state sales tax, and to reduce the dividend Alaskans receive yearly when applying for the Alaska dividend. Implementing a state income tax, sales tax, without voter approval in an election is not appropriate. You are proceeding and taking a significant issue, the budget. There are proposals dealing with income tax, state tax. But how can you implement that stuff? How can you adopt it without taking it to the voters? The city of Palmer, when they have a sales tax, they take it to the voters. The Massachusetts Borough, when they deal with these issues, they take it to the voters. Why is the legislature talking about this and not saying these words, we're going to take it to the voters? This is absolutely wrong. And I again include this statement. If the public process is done appropriately, then the decision made by the governing body is more likely public interest. But what I've seen and pose this is the issue is time restraints. Therefore, you cut the amount of time the public can speak. And the end result is the decision made by the governing body is not going to be in the public interest. Thank you.
Greg Hughes, followed by Carol Carmen.
I guess we just start speaking, huh? Okay. My name is Greg Hughes. I'm District 12. Cathy Tilton's my representative. She hears from me about daily. And I work for Missile Defense Agency as an encryption engineer, and I'm a retired military guy. So, and I raise a family still. I have 4 girls, and so I speak on behalf of a younger generation that's going to go broke, if not soon. And I've been really struggling with the fact of when I look at these subcommittees and gavel to gavel, I never hear the word constitutional mandate, what we're constitutionally mandated to pay for in this state. That's what we should ask in this room. What are we constitutionally mandated to pay for? Because if we ask that question, I think you would find that not only $4.5 billion would not be the budget, actually it would be closer to $1.8 billion would be what we're mandated to pay for in this state if we did it constitutionally. I wore the uniform to fight for a constitution, a document that says that we're to live free and be freedom. And I'm afraid that if we don't start living by the words that are in our constitution, our kids will not live by freedom in which I live by today. I'm afraid that we won't have the opportunities that I have experienced to grow up in a very poor environment to where I'm at today, a very successful man. They will not have those opportunities if we keep spending, 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 spending. We cannot do what we've done in the past. It has not worked, and it will not work. You're seeing a very change of